All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning. We're excited that you joined us let me turn on my video and make sure that you can see me here. All right, perfect. Thank you for joining us. We're glad that you came to talk about our enterprise and digital transformation, namely cloud transformation. I'm Timothy Summers. I'm the Executive Director of Cloud and Advanced Network Engineering Services. And I'm joined by a few friends who are going to help with understanding how we go to infinity and beyond. Jumping ahead to our next slide, we appreciate Warick and Nate and Marty joining us to share some supplementary ideas regarding the road ahead. So thanks to our partners for that. We want to jump into our agenda. Here's what we have in store for you today. Quick glance. We know that this is going to be a lightning pace because we don't have a huge amount of time. I want to ask everyone to mute for a moment just to make sure we're conserving and ensuring a great experience, everybody. But we want to make sure we have a fruitful session and that we hear from you. So we've created a form for you to provide some feedback and share with us. That's, really this is an opportunity for you to share your thoughts and for us to capture them. We want to leverage this insight to identify paths that get us closer to our goals. The moderator will share the link in the chat. Please take a few minutes to answer 6 questions. Won't take you more than a minute to provide some feedback. And like I said, that link will be pasted in the chat here soon. So why are we here? We're here to share ideas about transformational journey, right? And using those ideas to co-create the change that we want to see in the ASU enterprise. We want to co-create that future with you, and that's really the point of our conversation here today. So we're on a journey to future-proof our enterprise. We're moving to the cloud. Of course, there isn't one cloud, right? Like many innovative leaders in the world, we're moving to the cloud. And as you know, there are private clouds, which means that you're responsible for hosting and management. There are public clouds like AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, and so on. We've leaned into our cloud-first approach, established a healthy presence in partnership with AWS. And to further serve the enterprise, we're building our bench in Google Cloud. We're taking a mindful approach to our private cloud. Truthfully, each cloud has its own unique business advantages, and for us, there are massive benefits in the scalability and flexibility of our enterprise, the applications and services functioning in the cloud. And as with every era of technology, many get caught up in branding. When it comes down to brass tacks, some apps and services need to be cost effective, while others need performance. Some need to run in specific physical locations. Some need to run alongside other applications in the same cloud. But the bottom line is that different apps need different kinds of clouds. And the most global organizations like ours are using multiple clouds to have the right tools for the right job every time. We're an evolving enterprise. Our cloud journey to infinity and beyond is more important now than ever. The pandemic has shown us that. In order to thrive and survive, we must be ready to adapt in the face of uncertainty. So this is why we're adjusting our sails. You'll hear that commentary. There's a great quote that I'd like to share here with you that, we can't change the wind, but you can adjust the sails to reach your destination. That's one thing that is for certain, right? So we're adjusting our sails to ensure that whether apps or services are in a private cloud or a public cloud, on servers or virtual machines, containers, whatever the case may be, they're managed uniformly throughout our infrastructure, right? It's our intent to establish a consistent experience that goes beyond the data center in the cloud, but ultimately we're looking to establish an infrastructure dynamism from the data center to the cloud, to the campus, to the edge, and beyond. So we're moving from cloud first to cloud mature, right? I mean, up to this point, we've had laser focus on being cloud first. We're rapidly shifting our mindset to focus on adoption and maturity. We want to extend and expand our capabilities, making smart and economical decisions along the way. And we've established a few architectural principles to help us get there. These principles are what we're using to guide decisions and investments in order to achieve our vision. Making decisions that empower our enterprise, running and monitoring systems for continuous improvement, continuous delivery, and continuous security, using computing resources efficiently and effectively as demand changes and tech evolves, ensuring system recovery and resilience in the face of disruptions and consistency of user experience, and continuously protecting our assets no matter where they live and avoiding unneeded costs where possible. So we've set forth a few focus areas that will help us reach cloud maturity success. We're already cloud in flight, right? As part of our journey, we're establishing new processes and focusing on accelerating maturity, ensuring security by design, expanding community engagement. That means more time like this with you and innovating new solutions. And I'd like to pass it over to Warick, who will walk us through processes and how they'll help us reach maturity.
Thanks, Timothy, and thanks for inviting us as part of this. And also like to thank Aaron for moderating this. But to achieve cloud mature, as Timothy has mentioned, the team is focused on processes that assist in rapid creation. And in order to do that, the team iterated and learned as it went along, designing with lean and agile methodologies, kind of borrowing from the notion of Eric Ries, if you cannot fail, you cannot learn. And the very orchestration of the cloud first team was an experiment under the hypothesis that cross-functional teams are more effective. As we started, the notion of the cloud was abstract or even defined differently by different individuals. And so combining agile and lean methodologies enabled us, to work under hypothesis and abstraction and turn them into more concrete items. If we look at the agile processes, the notion behind this was to progressively elaborate in an iterative fashion. It may surprise you that the team that was building everything that was net new supported over 35 projects. And of those projects, new products were created. And that same team had to manage those products and projects. And to date, we have over 128 products that have come out of the cloud. And we've had to manage those using lean and Kanban boards and using Scrum and sprint boards, focusing different methodologies for the right purpose. But having that many projects, 128 products and over 35 projects, we need to scale that. So if we go to the next slide there, Aaron, scaling requires us not to just focus on what the team continuously iterates and develops and delivers based on projects or products, but also getting a programmatic view. Do we have the current capabilities and enablers that we intend to? And then even above that, do we have the right solution intent for the community? And are we headed the right direction? So much of what Timothy has discussed in terms of our focus going forward, really kind of being more towards adoption and security, engagement and innovation. We need to look at that at a portfolio and programmatic level. And we've tried to do this by scaling using a process called Scrum of Scrums. And we've broken down that process into really 4 steps. On the next slide there, it's the first one is really a key understanding of user stories and epics and the demand that is out there from our customer base. That enables us to understand a master plan of the work that is in progress or should be in progress based on the demand. But the most important thing that we get out of Scrum of Scrums is this notion of a BAO that comes out of Lean. And this is visually depicting information and program timing, processes to date, what we intend to actually do. And that enables us to plan the next sprint. So the Scrum of Scrums has a number of inputs. And those inputs include an understanding of the existing working backlog. If we go to the next slide, we can see what those inputs are. So understanding the backlog of work, the current sprint work, new requests that are coming in, capacity of the team is something that we are working on and working towards and increasing our maturity. But again, the end result is an understanding of the priorities from the team and also leadership with the output of a quarterly roadmap and targeted goals of releases and new functionality that we can iterate and change on as we learn new things. But the most important thing here is that we take this seriously and we intend to continuously improve. So just because we've implemented these processes and we've gone down this rabbit hole of using just lean and agile, we can use and steal from other methodologies that work best for us. And we're doing that through continuous improvement. you know, for the Scrum of Scrums, we've engaged in a series of improving and facilitated Spark sessions and identifying where we can get, you know, greater improvements, empowering the team and the members to intentionally work together. So in short, the processes do not work without a culture that is relational, empowered, authentic, and visionary. So the way to change culture is not to first change how people think, but instead to start by changing how people behave and how they actually get the work done. And that's what we've intentionally set out to design by working in Agile and Lean, dedicated teams, and then scaling that up. So I'll turn the time over to Nate to really talk about engagement moving forward.
All right, so first of all, what does it mean? What does engagement really mean? And where is it that we're trying to go in the future? I'll start by talking about that, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we started and where we are now, and then what our approach is to be able to evolve from today until tomorrow. So, by engagement, we're talking about all levels of engagement. So at the individual contributor level, both inside our teams in UTO and outside with IT partners and the IT community around the university, and at the functional level within business units and colleges and departments and other areas around the university. So this is both at a individual contributor level and at a higher level, how teams work with teams internally and externally, and how organizations work internally and externally. And so there are three areas that we're hoping to target in the future. One is to have a robust service catalog that is designed in order to catalyze the delivery of value within the university by anyone at the university. A second element there is to provide a design consultancy. So to provide people help in what products exist off the shelf in the service catalog, and what the opportunities are to invest in new product development. And just applying the subject matter expertise that's found in pockets around the university, making that more accessible to partners, and kind of breaking down some of those non-porous edges between groups and making them more porous. And then the third element is applying our new product development abilities to the problem university, and following a process where partners come to UTO or they convene together. First, try to find how their problem could be solved with an existing catalog item, or an existing common pattern, that the boilerplate that they could apply to that issue. Where that doesn't exist, consult with a team on how they might enable themselves to build a new product or to implement a new system. And then finally, where that doesn't exist, how can we facilitate that work within the cloud team? So if we move on to the next slide, where we started with a lot of these concepts internally in a work stream that we called, in an experiment that Warick referred to earlier, that we called cloud acceleration. The idea there was, how do we accelerate the adoption of cloud technology, private cloud and public cloud technologies, and took a number of elements in strategic experiments, little mini experiments, to test whether or not that was really going to build up the power of the cloud. And so I won't go through all of these in detail in the interest of time. But one important element here is cloud design consulting. That was our first iteration at Create Open Partnership Forum for technologists at the university and other functional groups within the university to come and collaborate how we use the cloud together. And if we move next slide. Quickly, how we plan to evolve from where we are is to continue to identify what some of those emerging patterns are and shrink wrap them and put them on a shelf and work out supply chains and pricing and pseudo pricing costs, and make those available as a first pass to be able to further scale sources that we have to new and different problems and solve those with the eventual expectation that we'll identify and also we want to be able to expand our compliance guardrails to move from the AWS to match what Timothy was saying earlier, to move from an AWS first approach with respect to gap analysis and the application of new compliance tool sets to a broader landscape of cloud technologies, to enable those groups that are kind of that are innovating on their own to do so with safety and with a collaborative spirit, so that we can understand what new patterns, what demand there exists in those realms also. Another element is to develop and apply a mentorship model, subject matter expertise, and embed them in teams that are solving new problems in order to steer and inform those processes. And finally, to shift to a partner culture, to really take partnership seriously. And collaborate with partners around the university and external to the university in order to design solutions versus, more of the contractor and client model. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Marty to talk about some security elements.
Thanks, Nate. So throughout this presentation, we've seen terms like compliance, security, continuous security, DevSecOps. And I just wanted to take a little bit of time to focus in on some key concepts and areas of security. So when we talk about security by design, we look at this, and what becomes apparent right away is that when we're in cloud environments, we're working in a purely software-defined environment. So that what means to us that we can build, patterns and secure baselines for environments and store them in code and express them through code. You combine that with things like orchestration and automation, and we're able to efficiently and quickly push out secure baselines for environments that have varying degrees of security compliance requirements. And what that means is that in the cloud, security is not only no longer a barrier to innovation, it kind of becomes an enabler for innovation. I mean, it's not alien zoo type innovation, but I think it's pretty neat. So once that's out, you can, as you start looking at resources and what you're going to do in the cloud, you realize that there are a lot of services that are serverless or microservice based or managed. So now we no longer have to worry about things like vulnerability scanning, patch management. So we have these security elements built in, and we're starting to free up a lot of time. Of course, we're going to have large data stores in cloud environments, and that thing means we need to worry about things like data governance, data protection, data privacy. So again, we're getting a lot of efficiency gains here. Protection, things like encryption in transit, encryption at rest come to mind. And for cloud providers, these have become things like one-click operations or no-click operations. So these are things that you no longer have to worry about. So, again, you're gaining some time back in the security space. So, not only are you, as you work in the cloud, gaining the ability to innovate, but on the security side, I'm gaining the ability to innovate as well. You know, when we talk about governance, now not only do we have the concept of infrastructure as code, but we have something like policy as code. I can express my governance rules in terms of executable code, and I can be continuously, well, not me personally, but you know, I can have the environment continuously monitored for governance, compliance in that space. And if I want to really get fancy, I can actually start toying with the idea of automation of security response in the cloud. So if I see something that, you know, crawls off a compliance baseline, I can just have something that goes out and executes and, you know, reestablishes that baseline security element. For privacy, we can use things like native tagging constructs to enforce data identification and classification. So moving on to zero trust, to me, this is a very interesting topic and one that I've been hearing a lot about lately. This can have implications about how you operate in a cloud environment, but I think we're better off just focusing on some of the core tenets of zero trust. And these are things like strong authentication, least privilege access, segmentation or limiting the blast radius, and the capability to do detailed auditing. And again, if you look at what cloud providers are doing for us, these things are very easy to affect. You know, they allow us to integrate with our identity management systems, so we can build in strong authentication. There are the ability to create very fine-grained access control policies. So we have the capability to do you know, very detailed least privilege enforcement, and that helps us with segmentation and blast radius. And there are many other constructs we can actually use to enforce that type of segmentation. And the auditing capabilities, you know, something that, you know, we've always had to worry about in the past, is just given to us in cloud environments. Again, this is something we don't even have to worry about or spend time on. You're up and running in the cloud. We have the ability to mine detailed auditing logs that are already provided to us. So hopefully that helps establish the idea of security as an enabler for innovation. And I'm not sure where you are on your cloud journey, but I hope that you've either experienced this or about to experience this kind of enablement. So with that, I'm just going to turn it back over to Aaron.
All right, guys, thank you. So now it's going to be the breakout lightning hackathon. So basically, we're going to go into mini breakout sessions for about 13 minutes, and then I'll go over what that's going to consist of here. So the lightning hackathon, you'll be randomly sorted into groups. Take about 10 or so minutes to explore the questions in the docs. I'm going to go ahead and share that doc onto the chat line there. So select someone out of your team to report out to the rest of the group. We will go ahead and return to the main room. I'll pull you guys back in after about 10 or so minutes. And then we'll go ahead and randomly select 3 groups. At that point, the representative speaker for each group will share an inspiring idea for the group's discussion. All right, is Timothy here with us?
Yep, I'm right here.
Oh, okay, perfect. So did we want to go ahead and move forward now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Just, you know, Aaron, select a few groups and, you know, just, you know, we'll
okay.
let folks, how much time do we have, Aaron? I'm kind of tossed since we started late.
Yeah, we started a little late. I know the break was about 3 minutes ago, but that's okay. We'll have about, let's say, 5 or so minutes for this, if that's good.
Okay. So let's do a random sampling and let folks just kind of report back.
Okay. Perfect. Let's choose breakout room 2. Let's choose breakout room 6, and let's choose breakout room 7. So
okay.
Let's go ahead. Thank you.
My name is Fred Hernandez. I'm part of the IAM team over at UTO, and our team was talking about, questions came out simply about the cloud, of course, and many of us were just being, picked a few members to give their ideas on what the cloud, moving the cloud out to the environment means. And we had a few people give those instructions, and we just talked about the advantages in that, just in cost efficiency, high scalability, risk, also funding, where you're usually support your staff at the back in the day when you had your own environments of operations staff supporting all that. Moving that up into the cloud provides more stability or more standards and supporting an environment and reduce cost in operations. We got into security, auditing, oversight, a little bit more would be required there. So we hit a few little topics there. It was more of everyone sharing. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then let's go ahead and go with group 6, I believe, was next.
Anybody want to volunteer? If not, I can just summarize. We got to the first 2 questions. The first one, right away, conversation started with scalability and efficiency, applying new technologies that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be immediately available. And on the second question, with respect to creating a culture of innovation, one group member pointed out our ability to kind of, being empowered to contribute to work streams that you're not necessarily embedded in. So being able to contribute, for instance, pull requests to GitHub repo for an infrastructure as code element, for example.
All right, perfect. And then can we please have a representative from group 7?
It was group 7.
Okay, let's go ahead and try group 1 then. Any takers?
All right, well, I'll speak out for our group.
Perfect, thank you.
I can't remember which breakout group number we were, but one of the things that was really impactful was that we received feedback that the CDC, in terms of engagement and Travis, I don't want to misspeak for you because I'm kind of quoting your idea here, but we were talking about the value of CDC for helping people sort of have almost like a group of Sherpas that they can work with on how to climb that the perception of a mountain in terms of cloud, and really sort of and there was a follow-up question that was asked around how can we further that? Is it a community of practice? Is it a community of excellence? And so that was pretty exciting on our end.
Perfect. And then we'll move on to the final slide here.
Q&A. So we wanted to take a few moments here. Aaron, I'm sure we have less than 10 minutes here, but just to take a few moments to allow folks to pop any questions into the chat, and then just give some room to answer a few. I think we may have a room for maybe 2 or 3 questions. Aaron, what do you think? Do we have room for that?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
So questions from throughout the room. We're just doing a quick round robin. I know it was really quickly. Any thoughts, questions that you'd like to share here with the group?
Well, can you hear me? Am I? Okay, thank you.
Yep,
the only thing I have to say, I've also put into chat, there is a humanistic downside to going to the cloud. It is the same humanistic downside to all groundbreaking technologies, and that's the loss of traditional jobs. As corporations, universities make Microsoft, Google, and Amazon our data centers, we will no longer need those personnel here at ASU, there at CBS, or wherever. And this means those people will be forced out of work for a job that is no longer required. So there is a humanistic loss for any groundbreaking technology. But the good thing is for the university, it'll save just a tremendous amount of money, and you'll be able to do more with less. But the people you let go will be devastated.
Can I answer that? This is Greg Wilson. Answer to that, I would be an example of that type of an individual, possibly, because I take care of physical data centers originally. I have to tell you that my transition to learning how to do things in the cloud, I think those individuals, that's what they're going to do. There's a lot of work to moving and a lot of work to maintaining, and those same individuals will be just changing what they do.
If I may offer a rebuttal. My rebuttal is that many of those individuals will not be needed. You will need a far lesser staff to take care of your cloud infrastructure, because that's what it's designed to be. Less staff to take care of it, less cost to you, because AWS, Microsoft, Google handles the infrastructure, et cetera. So while some of those individuals will change, I think that the majority of them perhaps will just be thrown out of work.
So can I respond to that?
Yeah, please do, Marty.
Yeah, I'll take that as an yeah, yes. So David, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, any disruptive technology, this is more of an economics lesson. Will cause unemployment for a certain group, and I've seen this personally as well. If you want to, for example, go be a security guy at a place like Netflix, you may be required to prove your proficiency in programming languages. And that's not a skill that's readily available in a lot of the risk and compliance staff across the industry. So, this does have an impact on, how people are going to be employed and employable. But that's been true throughout history. People loved automation for mining efforts because they were able to get rid of all the expensive humans, reduce their staff by about 75%.
And if I could add to that, Marty, I think the goal here is to is to be the best colleagues and the best, have the best culture that we possibly can in the face of that. And that means making sure that everybody has the professional development and opportunities. To go back to Timothy's point that we can't change the wind, but we can adjust our sails. I think recognizing that the technology profession is a minefield of this kind of thing. Making sure that we're doing the best we can to give everybody the opportunity and to get as much value from everyone in the IT community as possible, and to recognize that talent and recognize those skills and apply them to achieve our outcomes, our goals.
Yeah, one upside here is that the ability to engage in online learning and retrain has never been more ubiquitous.
Yep,
It's just
Marty,
everywhere.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Nathan. This is not a tirade from me. It is merely, let us remember there are some people who cannot fit in, and this happens with everything. Electricity, atomic energy, robots in the manufacturing workplace. All of this has had a technological effect on traditional jobs. Our people must learn and must have the opportunity, if we as a compassionate and caring university, to allow these people to retrain for something else useful to the university, rather than just throwing away people. And it's just something we need to be mindful of, that's all. It's going to happen. We have no control over it. But what we do have control over is how we transition these people to new jobs and new organizations that will help them to continue their life.
I mean, one thing I would want to just chime in on, I mean, we had a big push on automation, 3 years or so ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And instead of removing people from jobs because we automated a bunch of our routine tasks, we have more things that we work on now. So, at least for a certain extent of time, it opens up what you can do. And I expect the same is going to be the case with shifting into the cloud. Not having to do some of the routine server maintenance, I think would then open people up to do more interesting and more useful things as well.
That's a good point, Sean, and that leads me to something that I wanted to address, and that's that we need to recenter our expectations in terms of the cloud being cheaper. I don't think the cloud is going to, moving to the cloud will result in cost reductions. It leads to optimization of spend, though. How we're spending that money unlocks more potential, so that we could take those existing staff and remove some of this is something I didn't have time to address as part of the engagement and culture part, which is that what we're trying to do is reduce undifferentiated heavy lifting. So that those who are interested can apply their talents to more interesting problems and focus on innovation versus some of the old task-oriented work that's still interesting and still needed from humans, definitely, and always will be. But it kind of shifts the capability and allows us to apply our existing staff to a broader set of problems and to be able to move faster.
Yeah. To your point, Nate, if I want to do some, massive analytics on data, should I, buy a Netezza appliance or Teradata just because it's going to keep someone employed, or would it be more responsible in the university to leverage, massive compute power in the cloud at a better price? So there's a lot of dimensions here.
This is fantastic conversation, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This has been great. Please fill out the form that we shared in the channel, in the chat. And we look forward to hearing from you and connecting with you more. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Hi, and the Culture Ripple session will start in just a minute.